am just so sick to death I could spit. I'm actually really tired of two things: phony outrage and people making excuses for other people. Hank Aaron ruffled some feathers when he compared Republicans to KKK members, but people make excuses for him, saying he's an old man. He doesn't know any better. And the woman in Phoenix who left her two kids in a hot car during her job interview, everyone wants to make excuses for her as well. She's homeless, she's broke. What if she were only 5 minutes away from killing that baby? Would those heavy excuses hold any weight? And Brandeis University, Indian giving an honorary degree to a woman who'd been brutally raised Muslim. The school yanked the invite because, after genital mutilation and an arranged marriage, she's now highly critical of her former faith. What's their excuse? The internet was out the day they put the invite in the mail? Couldn't do the research? No more excuses. This is The Independent. Hi there. Happy Wednesday. I'm Kennedy, and I'm joined by Reason Magazine editor-in-chief Matt Welch, who has been applauded and lauded for his wardrobe choice tonight by one of our panelists, and Camille Foster from Freethink Media. It's Tieless Night number 2, but I certainly am not frowning because together we are, happily, the Independents. Also with us, we have convened a brilliant party panel. Annabelle Gurwitch, she's the author of I See You Made an Effort. Look at that. There's the book. Pink Panties, Gigantes. And Michael Moynihan, he's the columnist at the Daily Beast, and looking very fetching and smart and ready to get into it. So welcome, panel people.
Oh, so happy to be here.
Excellent. Nice to hear. It's like cocktail hour without the drinky drinks. Well, there was a horrible story just outside Pittsburgh. A 16-year-old boy is in custody for allegedly stabbing 20 people seriously during a bladed rampage that has reactivated the debate over knife control. According to police reports, the stabbings were methodical and obviously bloody. And one school administrator was thankful it wasn't a shooting. One student said the perp was skinny, small, and had been bullied. But is knife control too far behind?
We already have knife control in this country. We don't talk about it much, but we're in New York right here. Cyrus Vance the 12th, or whatever his name is, has prosecuted or extracted huge settlements out of Home Depot for selling pocket knives in New York. They're in schools around the country. There's all kinds of zero tolerance policies for kids who have a pocket knife or a fishing knife in the trunk of their car if they drive it to school, because they have these zero tolerance policies on school grounds. So we have knife control all over the place. What we don't have, and I kind of thank God for this, is that we don't have the stupid debate that we have over gun control every time that
I honestly don't think that's far away.
Hey, I wanted to say we have knife.
Hi, Annabelle.
Hi, Kennedy. We have knife control, but we don't have sharp knife control. I have to just say, I have a 16-year-old who actually witnessed a murder on the campus of his high school that was a knifing. I believe we have shown as Americans we can't handle the knife. We can't. I think we should ban everything except butter knives. I think we should all be eating baby food. I think pens. Well, we have computers now. We don't need those. We should start to have hardware armories. We have to check out hammers and saws.
I think we should mime baseball. I think all baseball should go to weed.
Listen, we can't handle it. If these things didn't happen, I wouldn't be saying this, but I think we should. We have to be stripped down, probably naked.
I suspect there's a healthy amount of sarcasm baked into that response. I hope so.
I'm serious. I'm serious.
Do you also agree with this?
No, it was funny. She took my argument. I was going to say we all should be eating baby food and not going to school because that's where you can stab other people.
We can't handle.
And we shouldn't go to sushi or steakhouses.
Yes, we can't eat food at all anymore.
Chopsticks.
There are no knives.
Not that hard.
Well, these wonderful knife control things, by the way, are how the knife comes out.
Yes.
So you have like switchblades. If you have an enormous steak knife or some sort of cleaver, totally fine.
Fine, yeah. Cleaver is that's a heavy. I mean,
hatchets are fine. Yeah. Axes are fine.
Invariably,
one at a time, please, people.
What happens after a situation like this is folks understandably but incorrectly start to talk about the weapon that was used by the assailant.
Yeah.
That is why we obsess over gun control after a tragedy like this happens. That and the ultimate and inevitable and seemingly obvious decline of our civilization, which is totally not happening. Like, we have had to deal with nonsense like this for a number of years. Back in the 1920s, There were bombings that happened randomly, and people dealt with
Not
it.
hard to make a bomb.
I think, first of all, it's just like you want to make a joke about this because it seems unbelievable. Knife
I don't.
control.
There are kids in the hospital
listen,
who are critically wounded.
my son says, but I want to ask you a question. So when people say this, and I've heard this so many times about how people incorrectly jump to these conclusions after these kinds of incidents, isn't that the right time to jump to these conclusions?
Well, no,
Isn't
not
it
if-
right
not if the-
after
not
an
if the
incident?
Not if the
doesn't suggest
conclusion
that.
is gotten
Yeah.
to by pure emotionalism. It's actually
right.
a very dangerous thing.
It is, and it's especially dangerous. I mean, this show has dealt with these issues quite frequently. Is that, I mean, the great example of that is 9/11. I mean, you have 3,000 people incinerated just 50 blocks from us here. And the response, which we understood at the time, was to clamp down on civil liberties, to launch wars in countries that had nothing to do with the 9/11 attacks. So, no, I understand the instinct to say we must do something, but it's usually, sensible to exhale a little bit and see if this is a problem that merits a kind of draconian solution.
Or if we're going to employ fallacious arguments, anecdotal evidence, for reasons why we should have sweeping control of anything that could be deemed a weapon.
Outliers
That's
are a
very dangerous.
bad place for us to make all of our policy from.
All right, well, Brandeis University has some explaining to do. They extended an honorary degree to former Dutch parliamentarian Ayaan Hirsi Ali, a woman born in Somalia in 1969. She was raised in Kenya. She has withstood genital mutilation and a very difficult Islamic upbringing. And since her 30s, she's been a vocal critic of Islam. In a 2007 Reason magazine interview, she said, "Once it is defeated, it can mutate into something peaceful. It's very difficult to even talk about peace now. They're not interested in peace. I think that we are at war with Islam, and there's no middle ground in wars." Brandeis University responded saying, "She is a compelling public figure and advocate for women's rights, and we respect and appreciate her work to protect and defend the rights of women and girls." Sorry, I was choking on my tears and vomit. "Throughout the world. That said, we cannot overlook certain of her past statements that are inconsistent with Brandeis University's core values." And you couldn't come to that conclusion a few months ago? Now couldn't do a little Google wiki search on the lady? Nick Gillespie responded in an article calling the university either incompetent or cowardly. So which is it?
Both, totally. I mean, our son Hirsi Ali is famous for one thing, by being the apostate of Islam and for saying pretty rough things against Islam as a religion and as it's practiced in its most extreme forms. That's what she's known for in life. So, you don't...
When you bring her up, that's going to come up on any sort of a
you do the
basic
Google
search.
search. That's the ding, ding, ding moment. So, yeah, they were a target of a coordinated pressure campaign, and they caved, and they were completely hypocritical about it. Tony Kushner was given a honorary degree there, and he said some untoward things in the minds of many towards Israel in the past. And they said, well, we don't really check out everybody's past statements when we hand out our honorary degrees. And this is just 7-8 years ago. So they're being completely hypocritical and cowardly.
Tony Kushner, the playwright. People may not know. Here, I just want to mention that.
I didn't know who he was, actually. I just saw it.
Right. No. I mean, he's a very specific figure.
He wrote Angles in America, that great play about geometry,
Angles,
right?
oh, yeah, so good.
Yeah, Angles in America.
Can I say, I got to say, I'm really with you on this. I really hate the apologizing thing. I mean, it's the same thing with politicians when they have sex with prostitutes. Elliot Spitzer, couldn't you have just said, "I like the hookers, I like to keep my socks on"? I have
Easier to
much
say
more
when you're not
respect for that.
prosecuting other people for doing the same naughty thing
still,
that you do.
As they say, it's not the crime, it's the cover-up, right? And this whole, if Brandeis didn't want to attract attention, if they wanted to, protect their reputation, this is the exact opposite thing to do. I just really worry that people are so, we have the internet, everyone can be Googled now.
Yeah.
If we're going to cherry pick everything everyone says, how are we ever going to find someone who we believe in everything that they say?
Well, Michael, let me ask you this. If this
really
were
disturbing.
a former Catholic who had said that Christianity must be stopped and destroyed, and there was an outrage from Christian students, do you think it would have warranted the same reaction?
I think you know the answer to that question.
I'm
don't
asking you, Michael. You're the columnist.
I tell you what, if you gave me 10 minutes to actually look this up, I could find somebody who said Christianity is a cult and, a religion that molests children, who's probably gotten an honorary degree or has a perch somewhere at a university as a tenured professor.
Yeah.
This doesn't bother me. I think that's absolutely fine, but we do have a double standard for this sort of thing, of course. And this is a thing that no one remembers about the Ayaan Hirsi Ali, talk about sort of extreme reactions to the thing. She made a film with somebody, Theo van Gogh, who was murdered in the note that was pinned to his chest, and by pinned to his chest, it was pinned to his chest with a knife.
In a
It said,
public
in a
space.
public place, was in Amsterdam, said, "You're next, Ayaan Hirsi Ali." I met her for the first time in 2006, and there were 3 hulking Dutchmen behind her. And I was like, they're all your boyfriends or something? It's like, no, because there are people trying to kill me. So her reaction to, I think, I don't agree with the comment that she made to Reason Magazine, but, you know, so what? I mean, please, I mean, as Matt said, this is not Ted Nugent, somebody who's a musician who makes sort of weird statements about politics. This is what she is known for. This is what she does, and she's actually very, very clever and very, very brave, and she's tough to deal with.
And she actually escaped an arranged marriage. I've been trying to escape my marriage that I chose myself. I admire her. This woman has...
It's just a check to the Lord.
And you can read all about it in Annabelle's book. Well, it is an action-packed night, star-studded, right here only on The Independence. And remember that movie On Golden Pond where the old guy and the young kid try catching that elusive fish? Walter? My Walter is here. I've always wanted to sit down with my Walter, and we have him. More will be revealed when necessary. And we've got Hollywood movie actress and willowy dreamboat, Judy Greer. She's also going to be in studio. We'll get in touch with our consciousness when we meet The Independent. Stay here.
And when it falls down, who you gonna call now? Come on, come on. And when it all falls down, man, I promise.
I sang backup on that track. Welcome back to The Independent. Maybe you heard the story about Shanisha Taylor, a 35-year-old mother from Arizona who claims to be homeless, and now she's jobless and childless. She was apparently stuck without childcare on the way to a job interview. Any busy, desperate mom knows the situation she was in. But she did what any irrational dim bulb would do. She left her 6-month-old in the care of her 2-year-old in a hot car with the windows rolled down about an inch. Someone who heard the sweaty baby crying called the cops, who said it took Shanisha another 45 minutes to come out of her interview after they'd arrived. And I know people feel bad for her, but even when desperate times call for desperate measures, that desperation never includes leaving a baby in a hot car. People have rushed to her defense, and one touched New Jersey mom has raised over $90,000 for her defense fund. Are these people fools?
You know, maybe the $90,000 is going to do this woman a great deal of good, and maybe the whole experience and the exchange will cause some rethink, and maybe there's a happy ending in all of this thing. I'm trying to look at it in the nice way possible. No, I mean, it's
There's certain things that you have to look at objectively. Leaving a baby in a hot car is never okay, no matter your living or job situation.
And especially if it's in Phoenix. It's really, really hot in Phoenix. I mean, I was trying to justify this. Maybe the 2-year-old, maybe a 4-year-old in a car for like 10 minutes. You can imagine, but a 2-year-old watching a 6-month-old, that's...
I had a very similar reaction to this story because I'm thinking to myself, well, what happens now? These kids become wards of the state. Is that a better situation or circumstance for them? Maybe. Unfortunately, there are not a lot of good options here. It's a crummy situation. Makes me feel bad.
Well, okay, I'll scare you here, but I have some compassion for her. But I just want to ask you a question. So what if it were a different situation? So a friend of mine, when he was going on job interviews, when he had an infant, he would bring the child into the interviews, and women would love him. He was always offered jobs. He's an actor, so it was in multiple situations.
That Hugh Grant was the lead in that one, right?
Exactly. No, but a guy with a baby, attractive, would get these. Do you think it would be any different? I mean, I do have compassion for her. She's trying to get a job. Of course, terrible thing. But it's just interesting how women and men are perceived differently because
that is a subjective element of the story. The objective element is don't leave a baby in a hot car.
No, there is no gender difference here.
Move to Alaska.
If she brought a baby into a job interview, there's no story. This, as Matt said, is in Phoenix. It might as well be on the equator. I mean, this is insane. The thing is, it's just a 2-year-old and a 6-month-old. After they call the police, 45 minutes. I mean, you cannot don't go to the job interview. Get another job interview. It's like, oh, it's difficult. You're leaving children in the car for what? I mean, this is like, how hot was it? 95 degrees? And if the kids are in there...
What other bad decisions are you going to make? Like, that's not a good decision.
Well, she's unemployed. Well, the kids could have died.
Yes.
I mean, the thing is unbelievably irrational to me that somebody would leap to their defense and say $90,000 for making an unbelievably boneheaded decision.
And truly could have been minutes away from killing these kids.
This story is really about how we have to stop global warming. Because if it wasn't wasn't so
It was
hot.
hot in Phoenix 2,000 years ago.
Phoenix has always been pretty hot,
Ask
actually.
my friends, the Native Americans. I believe it was the Seminole tribe in Phoenix. No?
No.
All right. Okay, very good.
Not at all.
Hank Aaron really knocked one out of the park when he stepped in it yesterday. It was the 40th anniversary of his record-breaking 715th home run when he surpassed Babe Ruth. And Aaron had some choice words for men who oppose the president. He said, sure, this country has a black president, but when you look at a black president, President Obama is left with his foot stuck in the mud from all the Republicans with the way he's treated. The bigger difference is that back then they had hoods. Now they have neckties and starched shirts. Now, I know the guy is 90, and people are really going to, 80. Sorry, he's 80. It's hard to see the 8 and 9. But are people really going to let him get away with this?
Sure, he's 80. He was a great American, great baseball player, and his generation of baseball
What
players.
if he played hockey? Would you let him get away with it?
No, not at all. I mean, no, that there's even take away the kind of inflammatory. They've gone from hoods to neckties, which is, I think, a really inaccurate.
Kind of inflammatory.
Yeah. We'll like to be able to talk to this. He had something at the end of that saying that the progress has gone backwards because now blacks are only 7.7% of Major League Baseball. That is a profound, interesting thing. Back then, it was very important to have black people play baseball because they couldn't do anything else, especially at the beginning. They're barred from doing so many different things. I don't think it's a sign of regress. It's a sign of progress that there's more choices. We don't have to have artificially high, disproportionate numbers of black Americans playing Major League Baseball.
Or it's a sign of not particularly much at all. Here I am. Let me look at the silver lining here. Everyone knows what I think about crap like this. This is a teachable moment.
Yeah.
Hammering Hank Aaron is not above saying something really stupid, trite, and unfortunately, all too common. I encounter this sentiment all the time among people that somehow today it's just as bad as it was back then, or that by sheer force of will, we can take utter nonsense and turn it into concrete fact. The Tea Party is racist. Republicans are racist. Anyone who disagrees with me is awful. Shame on you, Hank Aaron.
You know, I think it's about language, though, also, because I think what you know is that when you use these inflammatory things like a metaphor or an allusion to the KKK, it's just not a good idea. You know, it's sort of like when you're a Jewish person, if you say things like, it's like the Nazis, it's a similar kind of thing.
It's a horrible part of
The
history.
only person who could do that was Seinfeld with a soup Nazi.
Yeah.
Everyone else, you got to just not do it.
Yeah, this is exactly the point I was going to make, actually. It is also trite, too. I mean, how many times have we heard this exact same thing said from, hoods to ties? But it is junk history. And we do get very, very upset when boneheaded Republicans or boneheaded Democrats, make the Nazi references, like, somebody's like Goebbels or Goering or Hitler
or
something.
Stalin.
Or Stalin. I mean, let's just be honest about this. If somebody like the Republicans are like Klansmen or people who are, obstructive to the Obama's agenda, which is what the opposition party is supposed to do, by the way, if they're like Klansmen, they are people who lynch other people, and there are people who burn crosses and, discriminate and, stab, and it's, Birmingham all over it. It's not.
Yeah.
Period.
On the other hand, he's 80.
Yeah, he
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go with the excuses.
He's wrong.
That's how it starts, and this is where it ends. How well do you know your scandals? And plus, we'll meet a congressional candidate who doesn't want to represent her district's issues and interests. She wants to represent their consciousness. What does that mean? Find out when we meet the Independent next.
And the radio man says it is a beautiful night out there. And the radio.
Hi, I'm Nicole Ritchie, and I support Marianne Williamson to run for Congress because I think America is ready for positivity, strength, and enlightenment.
I think it's wonderful she's running as an independent. I think it's wonderful she doesn't want to be beholden to this party or that idea or this idea.
I know that Marianne Williamson cannot be bought. Marianne Williamson is not your father's political candidate. She is a paradigm changer.
All right, there you go. Jane Lynch and others supporting our next guest. This is The Independents, where we welcome Democrats, Republicans, and especially independents of every stripe. And when I heard my retiring Congressman Henry Waxman was having his seat sought by an independent, I was very intrigued when I found out the candidate was none other than New Age guru and best-selling author Marianne Williamson. I said, what the hell? Why would someone so evolved want to run for Congress? Doesn't she know she'll have to hang out with other Congress people in Washington, D.C.? Well, let us meet the independent Marianne Williamson. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
So, Marianne, why Why do you want to run for Congress? It's a horrible place.
Well, I think people are people, and I think there are people in Washington just like there are people everywhere else. But I want to run for Congress because I feel that the things that are most disturbing in our country today, and I do think that the patterns of our government are deeply irresponsible and reckless today in many ways. I think there's a limit to what we can do from the sidelines. I think there's a limit to what we can do from online petitions. And I believe in the consciousness of the American people. I think the American people are just fine. But particularly because of the way money dominates the system, it's difficult for the people to get in. And the House of Representatives was intended to be the people's house. The founders thought there would be the farmer would be there for a while, the shopkeeper would be there for a while, the candle maker would be there for a while. Today there's a lockout. And so more of us who represent not the political status quo, who do not represent entrenched political campaigns and candidates who are representing the same old interests, but those of us who are simply living in the United States, we are citizens, we are doing different things than politics. I think that we belong in the House of Representatives, and I felt a calling within myself to actually run.
Okay, well, now,
seat.
I know that you want to represent the consciousness of this district. It is my district, so I have a personal investment in your candidacy, because one of the things that my consciousness is overwrought by is Common Core. I hate it. I hate the testing. I think it's awful. One of my daughters goes to a public school, and the testing is so confining and constricting, and thanks to Common Core, it's only going to get worse and worse. What are some of your core issues, and will you try and get rid of Common Core?
Well, I agree with you. I don't like Common Core either. But even more disturbing to me is how many millions of children do not have access to preschool. I don't think preschool should be mandatory, but I do think it should be universally accessible, because we know that the children who do not go to preschool, who do not have parents who are reading to them and playing with blocks and all of that before, start kindergarten behind on day one. And if we don't catch them up within 2 years with their reading skills, they're already on a 50% probability track to incarceration. So to me, the problem with our educational system starts even earlier. Now, for me, my main cause, however, is getting the money out of politics, particularly since the McCutcheon decision the other day, although I was already very riled up about the Citizens United decision.
Contributions? I know that the reason I wanted to have you on the show is 2 of my neighbors came out of their house, and they were so excited after hearing you speak and declare your candidacy that they really wanted to make sure that you had a national platform. So you are accepting no campaign contributions?
Oh, no, of course I'm accepting campaign contributions, but it's a grassroots campaign. I'm not accepting corporate or special interest PAC money or lobbyist money, but of course accepting contributions. It's a grassroots campaign. My average donation is $75. You know, until the money's out, it's in.
Very quickly before we have to go, I'm
yes.
sorry, you want to get corporations, you want to sign on to a constitutional amendment that says corporations cannot enjoy the same Bill of Rights protections as Americans. Aren't corporations actually just groups of people? The Sierra Club is a corporation, so they shouldn't enjoy the First Amendment. Your corporation, if you have one, which I imagine that you do as a successful person, shouldn't have Fourth Amendment rights to protect themselves against search and seizure from government goons?
Well, I think people have those rights. I think the problem with corporate sort of takeover and hegemony of our political system is that the short-term economic gain, the bottom line of a corporate function, is the short-term economic gain for those shareholders. Now, that's appropriate within a business context. But what happens in a country, of course, is that the short-term economic gain is not our bottom line. Our bottom line has to do, for instance, with our children. Now, if you only have those with financial leverage who get to influence the government's functioning, then what does that do, for instance, for children who do not work, therefore they have no financial leverage? So, listen, I'm an entrepreneur, and the high side of capitalism has been good to me. But I don't believe that this multinational corporate matrix that has been allowed to so much undue influence of our governmental functioning at the expense of the in such a way that is so disproportionate to that influence wielded by the average person. No, I think that's the dismantling of democracy itself.
All right. Well, you are in West Los Angeles. You are in a concentrated wealth region of Southern California, and a lot of the things that you're talking about, you will not need to represent your district in that way. Maybe you want to run for office representing another district where people truly are in need. We have to cut off the discussion. Marianne, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Dust off your talking points and get ready to cry. We're going to play Name That Scandal next.
Everything is on the side, it's so
welcome back to The Independent. Every week there's a new political scandal in the news, and as we were putting the show together today, we realized these things are hard to keep track of. So let's do just that. Let's try and keep track of it and see how well you know your scandalous trivia. This is Name That Scandal. Louisiana Republican Congressman Vance McAllister ran as a family, values, church-going, pancake-making kind of Christian. But apparently he developed an unholy fondness for shoving his tongue down a former staffer's throat. He asked for forgiveness, but if history is any sort of a bellwether, his scandal will get lost on the log pile of forgotten dalliances. All right, our guests are back. Our panel, Michael Moynihan and Annabelle Gurwitch. And are we ready to play, party people?
Please.
Matt and Camille are also in the game, in the hunt. So let us do it. Question number one, to name that scandal. He attempted to seduce his campaign's county chairwoman the night they met. Later, he made a curious statement. Quote, I'm apologizing for the conduct that it was alleged that I did after a number of staffers accused him of sexual misconduct. Is it A, Bob Packwood, B, Merkin Muffley, or C, Silvio Berlusconi? Was it too much of a gimme? Yeah, it was Bob Packwood. He was packing a lot more than Wood.
Great.
I got it wrong.
Sorry, Camille.
I knew it wasn't B.
Berlusconi's going to apologize?
He's never apologized for anything.
No, this is a great.
It's a spicy meatball.
All right, this fellow
trouble.
was caught drunk driving with an Argentinian stripper who, upon discovery, leapt into Washington, D.C.'s tidal basin. Was it A, Camille Foster, B, Representative Wilbur Mills, or C, Randall L. Tobias?
You promised not to tell.
I'm saying all of them.
I mean, it's clearly Camille, but I just want to be safe.
Matt is in the lead. Matt, you've got two. Everyone but Camille has one. It was Representative Wilbur Mills. Camille Foster has never been caught. Partial credit could have gone to Silvio Berlusconi.
Also never held elected office, so there's that.
That we know of, Camille. All right, question number three. A staunch advocate of abstinence and family values, this politician resigned to avoid an ethics investigation into his admitted extramarital affair with a female staffer. He and she had previously made a public video in which they both extolled the virtues of sexual abstinence. Was it A, Representative Tim Mahoney, B, Representative Mark Souder, or C, Senator John Blutarski?
I'm just going to pick the Irish guy. It's clearly the Irish guy.
All right, Annabelle is now tied with Matt Welch. You each have two apiece.
Do you notice that everyone said the Irish guy?
It was not Tim Mahoney.
I thought, who isn't it?
And John Blutarski was the character played by John Belushi in Animal House.
Yes, it was, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
All right, question number four. All right, you guys are tied. This individual was indicted for seducing what he thought was a 14-year-old girl on the internet, but it turned out to be an undercover law enforcement official. Was it A, Brian J. Doyle, B, Don Sherwood, or C, Silvio Berlusconi?
How does he know Matt Welch, actually? Yeah.
You all got it right. Matt and Annabelle, you're still tied. The answer is Brian J. Doyle, a Bush administration Homeland Security spokesman. Silvio Berlusconi might have done this. We don't know. We don't have confirmation or denial. Question number five, name that scandal. Again, a barn burner. Matt Welch doing quite well against our first-time guest-to-guest, Annabelle Gurwitch. Number five, he resigned hours after a news report that the married congressman had sent a shirtless picture of himself flexing his muscles to a woman via Craigslist. He cleverly disguised his identity by using his exact name, but a private email address instead of his congressional one. Was it A, Anthony Weiner, B, Chris Lee, or was it C, at Berlusconi Poon Lover?
Can you say that?
Not really.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Just that you were pulled into the lead. You now have 3 points. It was Chris Lee.
Wiener didn't resign at first.
Yeah, he was ripped too.
Remember?
Details. Just when did
he was
spear.
the naked picture?
Forced out of office, kicking and screaming.
Is that a movie?
All right.
What, the tip of Al Qaeda spear? Should be a movie.
It's the
That is a great idea.
Muslims.
Number 6. This politician was reprimanded by the House for fixing 33 parking tickets for Steve Goby, a male escort who lived with him and claimed to have conducted an escort service from his apartment without his knowledge. Was it A, Stephen C. LaTourette, B, Ed Schrock, or C, Barney Frank?
Are you kidding me? You guys don't remember Steve Goby?
I lost track of the names. I can't.
Is it
talking
A,
about Goby.
Stephen LaTourette, Ed Schrock, or C, Barney Frank?
Unbelievable.
Moynihan, you've got 2 now. Okay, you're tied with Annabelle. Matt, you're still in the lead. Last question. Either of you can tie with Matt. Oh, no, it's Barney Frank. What did I say? It's Barney Frank.
It's Barney Frank. I was right.
It was Barney Frank.
Yes.
No, so you said C?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, then you've got...
No, you don't. This is like
One,
a disaster.
two.
Oh, he's tied now. Let's go.
No, you're
The
tied with
wheels
her.
are coming off this.
I just got confused because Barney Frank is running. Marianne
see.
Williamson is running for the seat that Barney Frank was.
No, she's
No,
not.
no,
No,
no.
he's from Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Emily
I
Waxman.
got totally.
Not nearly.
No,
totally
just sit there and look
confused.
pretty, honey.
I mean, thank you.
Very good.
Just
Number
do that.
7.
Look in the camera.
Okay, this politician did not call for Bill Clinton to resign after having an affair himself. Was it A, David Vitter, B, Henry Hyde, or C, Charles S. Robb?
Can we say Newt Gingrich?
He called on him to resign.
No, you guys, it's Charles S. Robb. All these people admitted having affairs, but only Robb did not vote against Clinton in the impeachment hearings or call for his resignation.
Good for him.
And he was, by the
whole
way,
time.
he admitted receiving a nude massage from then Miss Virginia, Ty Collins.
That goes
Totally
and one of the other guys
Totally
was
innocent.
accused of wearing a diaper.
It is
I'm not going to tell you who, because that's
Henry
libelous.
Hyde.
Yes.
Doesn't every massage person, aren't they always nude? Oh.
No.
All right, well, Matt, you won this game.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Well done.
I finally won one.
Well, you have
Yeah,
a filthy mind, so I'm not
you
surprised that you
pervert.
won this game.
You have to give us
Matt
all
Welch.
a nude
So
massage
gross.
now.
All right, thank you very much, panelists. We'll see you afterward on the after show.
Yes, he will.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Judy Greer is here, one of the most recognizable faces in all of filmdom and one of the least known names. She'll talk Clooney, Bulldogs, and her new book next.
My husband had to come for work, so we thought we'd make a little vacation of it. We know the owner, so.
Hugh King.
That's right.
Yeah, he's my cousin.
Oh, you probably know my husband then, Brian Spear?
No, I can't say I do.
Oh, no, he totally knows her husband. Oh, I'm so uncomfortable right now. Well, you probably recognize Judy Greer from just about everything in the world, maybe from The Wedding Planner or Arrested Development, where she plays Kitty. The clip you just saw was from The Descendants. She spent so much of her career telling people that she doesn't know why they recognize her. She wrote a book about it. Joining me now is Judy Greer. She's an actress. She's the author of I Don't Know What You Know Me From, Confessions of a Co-Star. And it's very funny because I was explaining to the nice lady who was doing my makeup today, Judy Greer's coming in. She's like, oh, Judy Greer? Yeah. Have I seen her? I'm like, oh, gosh, yes, you've seen her. Have you seen The Wedding Planner, about 700 other things?
Yeah. I like that you called me Kate. I think I want to pitch to Mitch Hurwitz if we ever do come back, and don't ask me if we are because I'm not going to tell you because I don't know, but if we ever do come back with Arrested Development, I feel like I should change my name to Kate.
You really should. And is that the project that people are most emotionally invested in with you, or is it your Cheryl on Archer?
I'm getting a lot more Archers. Yeah.
Because people who love Archer are crazy about Archer. People who love Arrested Development are crazy about that show.
And crazy about Archer, it turns out. Very similar fan base.
So you have fans who are rabid, but then you have most people who know you. And is it your book, by the way, is so funny. It is laugh out loud.
What did you say?
You drop F-bombs constantly,
I know, it's
which
terrible.
is great. You have a fantastic chapter about the Oscars. And if a normal person were transported to the Oscars for a moment, and their dress fell apart, and they tried to take off their Spanx and throw them away, and they got drunk alone.
Yeah. And their lingerie straps are hanging out in front of celebrities, like real celebrities, like Angelina Jolie and Meryl Streep and Brad Pitt. Like, it was embarrassing.
But a great read.
Yeah,
and
it was great.
There are plenty of celebrity memoirs in the world that really aren't that titillating and exciting. I said titillating.
No, you said.
Yeah. Ding dong. But I think what I'm most intrigued by is, one, your emotional instability and your admission that you cry at everything.
Yeah.
Including Budweiser commercials.
Yeah, the Clydesdale commercial,
And you think that your dog can talk to you.
Yeah. Well, I know he can. He's just chosen not to do it yet.
You say the longest relationship you've had with a male has been 8 years.
Yeah.
And that is with Buckley.
Yeah.
And
Buckers.
the reader assumes that you're talking about a human male.
Yeah.
Because you say his teeth keep falling out and you collect them, and I'm like, What is she dating?
I know.
A meth hobo?
Yeah, meth hobo. I broke up with him. No, it's my dog. It's Buckers. I have all of the teeth that that I can. Well, they pulled a lot of them out the last time you got them cleaned. And they're in my jewelry box.
And you are going to make?
I'm thinking of a necklace or something, but I don't know, like what. I don't know what to do with them, but I do kind of want to dip them and make like a decent kind of art project.
You should certainly dip them in gold.
Yes, yes.
And I don't think it's a bad thing if you make a grill, a Madonna.
Do a grill
Yeah.
with my dog's old teeth, a golden grill.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
You and George Clooney have done a lot of movies together.
Yeah.
And you are, what's the most recent one, Tomorrowland?
Tomorrowland, but, and it was just when you said that I realized, I think I've worked more with George Clooney than anyone else.
Does he secretly love you?
I'm gonna say yes. I mean, I don't know, but I really like him. We have fun working together, except on Tomorrowland, we were like this. I wasn't even in the city when he was there.
So you didn't see him?
No, I didn't have any scenes with him. I didn't see him, but I did get to have a scene with Tim McGraw.
I love Tim McGraw.
I kissed him on the lips.
Really?
Yeah.
And Faith Hill, that's what?
Oh God, I probably
marriage?
shouldn't have said that, huh? I forgot about that.
Yeah. No, it's been a tough time. That was a little insensitive.
Ooh. Okay, but he was still really cute, and I still really like him.
No, that's fantastic. And what is your ultimate goal? I mean, are you happy being America's best friend?
Yeah.
Can I help you out? Can I help you become Angelina Jolie?
Oh my gosh, can you imagine? No, I'm really happy. I don't have an ultimate goal. I just kind of like seeing like how things come to me. It's pretty good. I mean, everything's really good. Like, I get to hang out with tons of cool people. I get to work all the time. I'm pretty sure I work more than people who are, like, the star of things. Yeah. And I still can run errands by myself and go on road trips and, like...
And get recognized for all the wrong reasons.
Yes.
Because people are like, I went to high school with you.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, totally.
Are you a libertarian?
So, no.
Okay.
No, I'm not.
Are you grossed out by libertarians?
No, not at all.
No. Are you secretly excited by them and maybe you want to become one someday?
What is that color called? Is that teal?
I think this is luscious teal. This is peacock teal.
It's good. Peacock.
That was a great deflection.
Thank you.
And you can read a number of them in Judy's book, which is really good. You have to get it. It's super, super funny.
Thank you.
I can hear you talking in my brain. All right, well, Judy, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Coming up, tax day is close. Could you end up getting audited? And coming up next, we'll tell you exactly who is in danger of getting cracked down on by the IRS. This is The Independence. This is The Independence, where you are more than welcome to audit our bodies. The Wall Street Journal has a fascinating video series called The Short Answer, which are conveniently brief and loaded videos, tons of info, like this one, just in time for tax day.
Who's most at risk of being audited? The wealthy. If you make over $1 million, congrats. And sorry, you've got a more than 1 in 10 chance of being audited, far higher than just 5 years ago when it was around a 6.5% chance. And if you earn between $200,000 and $1 million, your chances of being audited have gone up slightly the last 5 years as well, to just over 3%. But if you make under $200,000, you've got less than a 1% chance of being audited.
Jason Bellini writes and hosts these provocative little devils, and he's here. Welcome, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
So how long have you been making these great videos for Wall Street Journal?
About a year now. Now, this is the first one that may actually get me in trouble because I've, told people the secret, crack the code of how the IRS audit system works. So hopefully they won't be coming after me for that, raising my chances.
No rounded numbers. Don't make $1 million, and not too many donations or deductions.
Right, exactly. But the main thing is they're really going after the wealthiest of the wealthy.
Why has that number gone up so much?
Well, because the number of audits on people who make less than $100,000 has gone down. And also the resources at the IRS has really been going down severely. If you call up the IRS to try to get a question answered, you've only got a 40% chance that anyone will ever answer the call. This was what the IRS commissioner reported to Congress. So it's an agency that right now is underfunded, but I came to, through the process of doing this, a very profound conclusion. I guess it was also an obvious one. Taxes are so complicated. I mean, it is wildly complicated, the system. And as a result, there's so many things in the system that, it's sort of like that sometimes seems arbitrary.
Do they make it so complex to confuse us so we'll just pay because we give up?
Well, I don't know. I think that it's because so many people are plugging in different things to try to solve different problems, and that creates new problems, like the marriage penalty, for example. The marriage penalty versus the marriage bonus. That was created in the 50s, and that's when, your Leave It to Beaver type families would get a bonus for being married. Now you have two couples who are making about the same amount of money, and they're penalized.
Jason Bellini, come back. Show us more videos.
Thanks.
Love it. All right. My Walter is your Walter, legendary New York hardcore hero. Walter Schriefels is here to ignite our musical passion. He's walking into the studio as we speak. It's next. Stay with us. Welcome back to The Independents, where it is time to indulge our collective love of music, as it is the unifying force that brings completion and liberty to the soul. Very rarely does one person have an impact on several genres of music, and even less rarely are those manifestations eagerly embraced in my kitchen. My husband and I have followed and loved every moment of the career of Walter Schriefels, from Gorilla Biscuits to Quicksand and Rival Schools and beyond. Walter has a rare gift that may not always be consumed by the mainstream, but to those of you who watch the show and who love music, you will certainly be able to appreciate his talents. Welcome, Walter.
Well, not welcome. You've been here for a while. Thank you.
No,
I feel like I've arrived, though.
You have arrived. You are here on the Independent stage.
Yeah, it happened. Like, that's good.
What was the music that inspired you to initially start playing music and forming bands?
The first thing that I got, I think, was Yellow Submarine, watching the Beatles when I was a little kid and just thinking that that was just the best thing ever. And
you
then
wanted to be a Blue Meanie?
I think at the ending, when they come into real life and they sing 1, 2, 3, 4, can I have? And that was like, oh wow, they're really people.
Yeah.
And then and just go on from there. And there's different milestones, the Sex Pistols, the Ramones, and all that, and the Smiths, and all kinds of stuff. And I'm still inspired by new stuff all the time that kind of, jazzes me up to do other things.
And you went from, writing songs, playing guitar in Gorilla Biscuits to Quicksand, and, which your later stuff was a little more emo. Do you have a hard time with that term?
I think emo is a good way to, I don't know, maybe it's not actually good. I think just it was a way for journalists to kind of describe what was happening, a new kind of heavy music where it wasn't about, more the kind of sexual themes of the 80s of heavy music.
Was it satisfying for you?
Which part? The sex or the emotions?
The sex, Walter.
The sex.
the sexy ladies.
Funny, it always is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some more than others, but generally, yes.
All right, well, there's so much more to ask, so we're going to have you stay and talk to us about music on the web show.
Yeah, let's do it.
So learn more about Walter. Go to our website right now, foxbusiness.com/theindependents. And we're going to talk with Michael Moynihan and Annabelle and Walter in moments. For Matt Welch and Camille Foster, I'm Kennedy. Thanks for being here. Good night.